What's up there, my friend? Are we good? I am Y311H. Welcome to our channel, Happiness Headquarters. I have a request for you before we dive in. Kindly, my friend, you see we here are on a mission of spreading love, peace, honesty, and forgiveness to the whole world. So, because I believe you are a good vibe soul and would be of great help in this mission, hit that subscribe button if you haven't and join us here. Now, let me put you up to speed with what goes on around. You see, we react to videos, my friend, with the intentions of spreading that message I've just told you about. But before we even reach to that point, there is some things which we usually do. First, you see, we acknowledge God Almighty as the creator and executive producer of this channel. So, we usually give thanks to God. But before giving thanks, we also read from the Guide of Life, the manual, you see, Good Vibes Book of Wisdom. And today we'll be reading from Psalms 105. This is what it says. Give thanks to the Lord, call on his name, make known among the nations what he has done. Sing to him, sing praise to him, tell of all his wonderful acts. Glory in his holy name. Let the hearts of those who seek the Lord rejoice. Look to the Lord and his strength. Seek his face always. Wonderful. Let's give thanks to that God Almighty. Dear Lord Father, thank you for gathering us here. Thank you for your unity, your love and kindness, Father. Thank you for this wonderful and marvelous soul that you created, Father. Bless them, Father. Remember them and intervene in their lives. Guide us through these videos, Father, and help us to spread love. In Jesus' mighty name, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Good vibes, my friend. Grab some snacks there if you can and sit comfortably. Great videos today. Let's dive in.
Let's watch this debate.
Did Jesus ever say, "I'm God, worship me"?
That's a common objection that Muslims will bring up to try to convince us that Jesus never claimed to be God because he's not. Now, the simple answer is no. Jesus never came out and said in those exact words, "I am God" or "worship me." However, if that's the reason to reject the deity of Christ, that Christ is God in the flesh, then this argument proves too much. Because I like to ask the Muslim, do you believe Jesus is the Christ? They'll say yes. The virgin-born son of Mary? Of course. Is he the Word of God sent down to Mary and a spirit from him? They have to say yes to all that because in the Quran, in chapter 4, verse 171, it says that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of Mary, the Word of God, and a spirit from him. My challenge to them is, show me where Jesus said that. Show me in your Quran where Jesus says, "I am the Christ." Can't find it. He never said it. Show me where he says he's the Word of God sent down to Mary. Can't find it. He never said it. Show me where he says he's a spirit from God. You can't find it. He never said it. So if I use your logic, you cannot believe Jesus is the Christ, the Word of God, a spirit from him, because he never said it. Now, which Muslim would accept that logic? They'll say, well, he doesn't have to say it. God said in the Quran. Well, thank you. In my scripture, God the Father himself bears witness that Jesus is God Almighty and the Lord of heaven and earth. So if you will still accept that Jesus is all these things, even though Jesus didn't say it, then why do you insist that I have to show you Jesus saying those things for you to accept it? Isn't the testimony of God the Father good enough, that Jesus is God Almighty, the creator of heaven and earth, the sovereign Lord of all creation? And that's found in Hebrews chapter 1, verses 8 to 12.
Do y'all remember this guy, the Bully Slayer? He used to post a lot of videos here on TikTok. He has over 1 million followers. I follow him, he followed me back. Well, something kind of strange has happened. He hasn't posted a video on TikTok for almost 5 full months. And he used to post videos here almost every single day. So I checked out his Instagram just to see if he switched to a different social media site, and he hasn't posted there in almost 10 months. Like I said before, a lot of people follow him. He posted a lot of videos and he got a ton of views. But for some reason, nothing from him. Nothing since the end of March. Now, maybe he got bored, maybe he got burned out, Maybe he just decided he's done making videos. But to me, and maybe it's just me, it's weird when people just disappear, just leave social media like that. Especially when they have a real big following. If anybody else knows what happened to him, or if you're just curious, let me know in the comment section, Booshkies. Shabadoo!
I was ripping up leaves and accidentally disturbed this one. Some good vibes guy were doing some things to the leaves, sweeping, and accidentally they disturbed this wonderful looking
UFOs
butterfly.
flying in combat formation over sensitive U.S. airspace, a 2016 plan to capture a UFO in the ocean using a, quote, big nuclear footprint, President Donald Trump receiving a briefing on the U.S. government's UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, multiple members of Congress receiving updates to this day from multiple whistleblowers about the U.S. government's UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, and that program being in possession of technology of non-human origin, are all new revelations from UFO whistleblower Lou Elizondo that he discussed in his new interview with the Daily Mail that just dropped today. I have the full 7-minute interview pulled up. We're going to watch it here together from start to finish. Let's dive right in.
I remember distinctly a conversation I had with Dr. Latsky during the early time when he was, I think, assessing me is probably what they were doing. See if I'd be a good fit. And I remember him.
So Dr. Latsky, Dr. Jim Latsky, ran the OSAP program, which was the UFO program that was the predecessor to ATIP, the UFO program that Lou ran.
I remember him very distinctly at the end of the conversation. He pulled his glasses down and he looked over his glasses at me and he said, "What do you think about UFOs?" And I paused for a moment and I responded truthfully. I said, "I don't." And he said, "Well, do you not believe in them?" And I said, "No, I didn't say that. You asked me if I thought about what do I think about UFOs, and I said I don't. I don't have the luxury to think about them. I'm too busy, trying to chase bad guys and make things work." And he said to me, he said, "Well, that's fair enough, but don't let your own personal bias get the best of you, because what you may learn here, may challenge any preconceived notions or narratives that you have." And that's really when I first learned what this program was about. We were getting multiple reports, a lot of reports of UAP. We call them UAP now, but in the vernacular, UFOs were being encountered over.
Again, UAP stands for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon. It used to mean Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. Before that, it was also Unexplained Aerial Phenomenon. There's a reason they moved from aerial to anomalous. We've talked about that in previous videos.
Encountered over controlled U.S. airspace and theaters of combat, and were posing in some cases a flight safety risk to our pilots. Now, what do I mean by that? So we have reports and videos in some cases of these UFOs splitting a combat formation. Now, if you know what a combat formation is, these aircraft fly very close to each other in a combat scenario, right? So they're like this. When you have a UAP splitting the formation, that's problematic. Furthermore, we have countless reports of these things being encountered over controlled U.S. airspace, over sensitive military facilities and installations. And we had no idea where these things were from. The origin, we had no clue. Their performance characteristics were stunning. These were beyond next generation technology. These were things that could perform in ways that outperformed anything that we had in our inventory, and we were pretty sure outperformed anything that our adversaries had. We were getting these.
So I do want to make a note here that there is currently a team of legal professionals that is actively pushing for the declassification of UAP videos and photos. I am familiar with some of the efforts that they're working on. There are multiple pending requests for a variety of entities and cases, because we've heard similar stories like this before. And so the problem is currently the DoD has a security classification guidelines set for all UAP records that de facto classifies them after those 3 Navy videos came out in 2017. So that is what has made it more difficult to get those videos out after the release of the 2017 New York Times article.
We were getting these routine pleas, these cries from the field. In fact, I remember one email very specifically where one of the senior people in the fleet, a very senior officer, basically said, "Look, these things are all over the ship. I don't know what to tell you. I can't keep people below deck forever and keep this a secret. what do you want me to do? You know, we keep telling him, look, the cavalry's coming. We've got these plans in place to help you out. And every time we would want to get this briefed up to a higher level, we were being basically stovepiped and then cut off. We actually had at one point if you will, a trap set up to collect information on these UAP. I can only talk about it because I've now had approval by the Pentagon to talk about it. It has now been cleared for me to talk about it. But we had a
Small note here about the clearance process. Whenever you are a former government employee and you've worked in and around classified programs, if you want to do a TV interview, do a speech at a conference, publish a book that may either directly or tangentially touch upon aspects of the work that you did in a classified program, you have to go speak to DOPSR, the Defense Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review, and they will review what it is that you want to be able to speak to, and they'll say, yes, you can talk about this, no, you can't talk about that. Part of the reasons around those decisions are if it's still currently an active classified program, they don't want that to be revealed, but if it no longer exists or it's no longer a present kind of threat to national security, they will let you talk about what may have been previously classified. So a lot of these whistleblowers have gone through the DOPSR process. We've heard Grush talk about the same thing. Each time you go, it will potentially be for another piece of the story.
We had a plan to set up a real big nuclear footprint, something we knew would be irresistible for these UAP, and then once we started seeing these UAP, with the trap would be sprung. Congress is.
I don't think we've actually heard that before, so that's new. It is interesting because it maps onto what we've heard not only from civilian UFO research programs like Dr. Kevin Newth, who did a talk at the Seoul conference at the end of last year in November, where he discussed him and his research partner wanting to build a small nuclear reactor as a way to attract UFOs and UAPs. There seems to be this tendency for these objects to appear in and around not only nuclear facilities, but also nuclear-powered Navy vessels. So there seems to be some kind of potential connection there. Lou stating that they were going to use that as a lure for a quote-unquote trap, again, gives more credence to the nuclear connection. That is also a huge angle of some of the FOIA work that I was just talking about previously.
Congress is being briefed fairly routinely by whistleblowers. Some of them have not been made public yet. New whistleblowers are ready to come out, provided they had the right legal protection. Oh, we were told by the people who had the material. I mean, it's kind of when they sit there and say, yeah, look, we're happy to have this conversation with you. There's some things that you're going to need to do if you want, more access to it. But yeah, we're happy to give this stuff to you.
So a couple things here. Lou mentions that Congress is getting briefed by multiple whistleblowers, that most of those whistleblowers are yet to be public. So it's not Grush, it's not Lou, it's not Chris Mellon, it's not Hal Puthoff, it's not Jim Semivan, theoretically, right? And also now is referencing, I think the question was, which was cut off in the interview that the Daily Mail published, like, how do you know these materials exist? And what he's saying is the people in the program that work it were the ones that told them directly. And this has been a narrative point here, which is that part of the reason that this is starting to break out from the sort of specter of secrecy is that people within the program are basically fed up, they're tired, they don't have the resources they need, and they think the American people deserve to know. So that's just a context on some of the things you just said.
That's a big deal. That's kind of I'm careful what I say here, but that's a holy cow moment, right? But you could probably put some expletives in there if you wanted to. That's a seismic revelation. Then, of course, then you have the material science and analysis that's been done on some of this material, which, look, despite what some people say now, like, oh, well, this was a missile casing from the 1950s. I know for a fact, because I had a member, and I'm not going to say which company, but let's just say one of the most elite aerospace corporations in the world do analysis on it. And I can tell you that what they came to a conclusion with, and after they actually was able to manufacture at a macro, very crude level, at over $1 million and broke the machine in the process, we know conclusively this was not technology that was manufactured in the 1950s by some sort of missile company. Look, if you look at it.
So this is interesting. That sort of comment about testing on the material science piece is likely referring to some of the material that To the Stars Academies of Arts and Sciences, Tom DeLonge's sort of disclosure entity that Lou and Chris Mellon, alongside Steve Justice and a few others, were members of in the 2017 to 2019 time period, they had made reference to being in possession of this magnesium alloy material that looked like it was engineered at the atomic level. That material then ended up being put into an Army study program that was facilitated by Lou. I think they put out a press release at the time. And the idea was that the Army was going to test it for its potential applications for their ground vehicle program. Then that material found its way into the possession of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is the new public Pentagon UFO study program that was stood up based on a mandate from Congress in 2022. Arrow put out a report on that same material earlier this year that was done by Oak Ridge National Labs, Oak Ridge having its own association with the history of the UFO subject we won't get into. And in that report, what they sort of alluded to was they didn't have a conclusion, but it's likely a missile casing from the 1950s or something. So I think he's basically taking shots at Arrow and I think suggesting, at least in part, that either it's that magnesium alloy material or other similar material was also tested by maybe Lockheed, maybe Boeing, one of the large aerospace defense contractors. But he's definitely taking shots at Arrow there.
If you look at it temporally and say, well, maybe the Russians have that technology now. Okay, sure. Let's suspend reality and say they do. But they didn't in the late 1940s. And so that would be like walking into King Tut's tomb and, Carter finding a fully assembled 747. I think it's pretty clear that when you...
He uses this King Tut tomb analogy often, but they always keep coming back to the 1940s and 50s. And whenever people say, oh, it's clearly the Russian drones or the Chinese, they continually, a lot of the sort of limited hangout of folks that are coming out saying that this program exists, they always reference the point about the 40s and 50s. And I think in part that's because some of the original alleged retrievals occurred during that time period. But the focus on continually coming back there, I find to be interesting.
You first see Trump being asked about the topic. He said, yeah, I don't particularly believe it. But interestingly, the next time he was asked, he's like, hey, there's something there. There's something to it, right? There were some very...
So this is also interesting. Don Jr. did an interview with Donald Trump, I believe while he was still in office, and he asked him about UFOs. And he, President Trump at the time kind of blew the question off. About a month ago, maybe just a couple weeks ago, I guess over a month now, Trump did an interview with one of the Pauls. I can't remember if it's Logan or Jake. And he was asked about the UFO question. And this time around, he gave a much more robust answer, spoke to the fact that he had talked with pilots and that they believe they saw this stuff. Trump himself is not a believer, but he said these guys came in, they look like Tom Cruise. I mean, it's beautiful. They were beautiful. And he was briefed and he's publicly confirmed that.
Some very peculiar incidents that occurred simultaneously while I was involved in the ATIP portfolio. And I'll tell you, it wasn't just me. A lot of the folks in ATIP experienced very similar things. It was witnessed by friends, neighbors. What the connection is, I can't tell you for sure. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But we experienced, my family, my kids, my wife, some neighbors saw these green little diffuse balls of light, luminous balls of light. Think of a volleyball, but without hard edges, right? Floating through the house. You can call them an orb, I guess. You can call them, maybe some sort of drone or remote operated vehicle. I've never seen anything like it. But I guess some people describe it as like ball lightning, maybe. But a diffuse green orb ball just hover right down the hall and disappear right through a wall. What, if any, the connection is to the UAP? I don't know. I'm just reporting it in the book so people know, right? If you're going to be transparent, you got to be as transparent as you can to include even in your own life, and even if it makes you look kind of crazy. That's what happened. And if it was just me, maybe I wouldn't have written about it. But the fact that it happened to other colleagues of mine that were in ATIP, I wanted to share that experience is. And again, is there a congruency? Is there a relationship between the two? I don't know. Some people speculate that there is. Maybe it's a small reconnaissance drone, a UAP that's, they're interested in our weapon systems. Well, they're obviously interested maybe in the people who are looking into them. I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much because I simply don't have enough information or data. I have my opinion, but at the end of the day, my opinion doesn't really matter. If it was just me that saw these things, I probably, again, wouldn't have said anything. But the fact is, my whole family saw them. And other members in ATIP experienced this same thing as well. So what the relationship is, I absolutely could not tell you, but it was very perplexing.
So Lou is referring to what is more commonly known as the sort of Hitchhiker Effect. So this is probably most popularly known to be associated with Skinwalker Ranch, which is a ranch owned by Brandon Fugel, which used to be owned by Robert Bigelow. And there is a preponderance of alleged anomalous activity that happens at the ranch, UAP and otherwise. And one of the traits of people who've gone to the ranch, and this is also detailed in George Knapp's book that he wrote, The Hunt for the Skinwalker, and some of these other references to the history of Skinwalker, that when folks left, they would have some kind of poltergeist activity, orb activity continue to follow them, beyond their experiences at the ranch. One of the most famous people that has come forward around this has been Jay Stratton, who helped run OSAP and also ATIP and the UAP task force, is probably the most knowledgeable across the recent UFO programs that have existed. And it was detailed that he had a similar Hitchhiker Effect issue that his family experienced. Lou obviously is choosing to come forward himself and talk about his personal experiences. For a lot of people who are experiencers, this is a very difficult subject to discuss because the obvious reaction that people will have is, you sound like a crazy person. It is interesting to me that Lou is choosing to talk about this personal side of stuff in a way that he hasn't before. That is new. I don't have a comment really on the veracity of it, but that is a different change in tenor that we've seen from Lou as of late. The video interview ends abruptly with that last personal anecdote from Lou. We're certainly going to be hearing a lot more from Lou over the coming weeks. We know that he's going to be on CBS Morning tomorrow. He's going to be on Rogan next week. I think Rogan in particular, given the long-form nature of it, and it'll be his first time on Rogan, there's likely going to be a lot more time to try to dig into some of the details of the things that he mentions here. But again, the issue always comes back to, how do you adjudicate the claims? I do think, as I mentioned, you're going to see a huge push from folks working in FOIA to go after the cases that Lou's talking about. There are 2 public hearings that we should be seeing in Congress, one in the House and one in the Senate. I would not be surprised to see Lou Elizondo testify, more likely in the House side than on the Senate side. And with the UAP Disclosure Act being negotiated within Congress, the possibility of getting a 9-member review board with subpoena power and creating an amnesty program for UFO whistleblowers will potentially enable, again, the adjudication process to have an official form. Still more claims. We are now getting to a place where there will be processes to actually be able to adjudicate said claims.
There's this facial expression that men do that I've actually never seen women do. And I'm going to see if I can replicate it here. But it's like when somebody is explaining something, I don't know if it's more like they're reasoning behind something. But anyway, so this is the look that like men will give. It's this like weird, I can't even do it because I've never made the face before.
It's literally the, are you sure about that face? But he doesn't want to hurt your feelings, so he's going to be quiet. He's going to let you get to your point. And then he's going to very gently nudge you towards the truth.
This is why you should stop saying the word bless. It is not a positive word. The origins of the word bless actually meant to consecrate with blood or to sprinkle blood on a demonic altar, the altar of a pagan deity. You see, it was used in pagan rituals. The original word that was written in the scriptures was barak, or for blessing, barakah. That word actually translates to exalt. It was also used as a word for respect, like to kneel down. So the original word that Yahuwah intended for us to use was barak, and it translates to exalt or respect. It does not mean bless. This means to sprinkle blood on a pagan altar. Stop using this word. I hope this was helpful. Shalom.
You're probably going to think this is insane, but the name that you were given at birth can actually show you how to get wealthy in this lifetime. It can also help you find your soulmate, show you which career path you should take, all sorts of things. Now, in numerology, every single letter of the alphabet can be assigned a single-digit number between 1 and 9. Now, you might be asking, how does J end up being 1? A being 1, you can understand because that's the first letter of the alphabet. But J is the 10th letter of the alphabet. 1 plus 0 equals 1, so J would be 1. Now, in order to find your name number in numerology, you're going to take your full name that was given to you at birth. You're going to write it out, just like this here, and you're going to assign every single letter in your name a single digit between 1 and 9 using this chart. Once you've done that, you're going to add up every single digit individually. So that would look like 1 plus 6 plus 8 plus 5 plus 1 plus 4 plus 9 plus 2 plus 8. This is obviously just an example, but this helps me explain to you how to do it. Now, John Smith, if you add up all of these together, you're going to get the number 44. Unless you get a master number of 11, 22, or 33, sometimes, depends who you talk to, 44 is also a master number, but I stick to 11, 22, and 33. Unless you get one of those numbers, you're going to reduce it down again to a single digit. So 44 would be 4 plus 4, that would be 8. So John Smith's name number would be 8. I want you to calculate your name number and let me know in the comments what it is. Now, every single number in numerology, 1 through 9, and the master numbers of 11, 22, and 33, they all have different attributes and traits that can show you things about yourself, like strengths and weaknesses and where you're compatible in love and partnerships and marriage. And my favorite is understanding where your strengths are in career and work so that you can unlock and attain wealth. Once I started understanding my numerology, I was able to quit my 9-to-5 job. I now do content creation full-time, and I've been able to sustain myself and my family for the last 4 years solely on content creation because that's where my strengths are. And I realized this through studying and understanding my numerology. So I was able to stay away from the things that were within my weaknesses and move towards the things that were within my strengths. Literally some of the world's most intelligent and successful people like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, and Pythagoras of ancient Greece, they all understood, studied, and utilized numerology. And the amount of extremely wealthy, successful, and famous people who have personal numerologists would blow your mind. Now's the time to start understanding your numerology so you can level up in life. Make sure you like this video and follow me for more numerology. It's time to wake up, y'all. Stay blessed.
Look at this. Yo, this is in the ocean. What's going on here? Is this a torch? Whoa! What?
It is a jellyfish.
It is a jellyfish. A fish that is changing colors.
Invisible.
How? Is invisible, only visible under some light. Crazy stuff. Look at this bag here. Looks like some people in the water left their bag behind. Who could that be? Proof Jesus is really God. He told the devil, do not test the Lord your God, when the devil was trying to tempt him. What do you think about that?
Magnets are strange enough on their own just being magnets, but wait until you see this. Every magnet has a magnetic field, and it's in the shape of a donut. When the fields interact, they kind of behave a little bit like a fluid. Those field lines can stretch and contract. When magnets are around conductive materials like copper or gold, they behave very strangely, almost like magic. Each pole of the magnet has a spin vortex at the end of it. Looks like that. When electricity is involved, current follows the shape. Now, if you make that shape with a coil of conductive material, then it interacts with magnets in a very interesting way. Since electrical fields interact with magnets, we can do a whole bunch of stuff. Putting an object into a copper coil allows you to see the interference of the magnetic field. That left video is showing the chaotic signals emitted by a computer and how the torus orients that signal. Mechanically spinning magnets around conductive coiled wire is how an alternator works, generates electricity. Electric signal through a coil can spin a magnet. Attach that to a wheel and you have a Tesla motor. Electric signal through a magnet can drive a speaker. Reverse that and you get an electric frequency. High voltage creates plasma and can be contained in a magnetic field. It probably looks familiar because you've seen it before. Spinning plasma is a galaxy. Spiral galaxies follow harmonics like music and magnetic fields. They're proportionate to phi, or the golden ratio. In very simple terms, higher frequencies spin faster and lower frequencies spin slower. Plasma in a vacuum tube can be shaped by frequency. There are a bunch of really cool ways to do this, but this is not a new phenomenon. We didn't just discover this. The old CRT TVs, cathode ray tubes, use this exact same technique. It literally shoots a plasma beam across the screen and draws the picture in lines deflected by magnets.